Musecast Experience with Aaron and Dave doing the special suicide prevention show today, and we got a professional on, Aaron. I think it's I don't know, a bit crass if I do the applause.
Okay.
So I'll skip that today. But Chad and I always forget this. It's
To Write Love on Our Arms.
To Write Love on Our Arms. Where did that name come from, Chad?
Yeah. Well, before we get to the name, just want to start with some gratitude. Thank you all so much for having us on. Thank you for taking the time to talk about something that can, candidly be quite scary, something that we feel a lot of us don't have the wherewithal to talk about it. So just honestly having, the gumption to talk about it, not knowing where the conversation is necessarily going to go, that's a great way of modeling what proper mental health care looks like. It's just saving the space to talk about things that can be difficult. So my name is Chad Moses. I'll start by saying I'm a professional only to the degree that you put a huge asterisk next to that word professional. So I'm not a mental health professional, but I am someone that's worked in the field of mental health now for about 13 years. 13 of the 15 years that To Write Love on Our Arms has existed. So To Write Love on Our Arms, we are a nonprofit organization that exists to present hope and find help for anyone struggling with things like depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. And quite simply, that amounts to building a better bridge to connect people that are looking for help to ideally local avenues that provide that help. So while we're not the destination, while we're not the counselors or the treatment center, we exist to connect you to places that can give you the help that you perhaps need and you certainly deserve. So the name itself, it begs a question. What the heck does that mean? So originally, To Write Love on Our Arms was the name of a story. And that story was about our friend Renee. She's the her in the story. And the story takes place around her first 5 days in recovery from cocaine addiction and finding help with self-injury, all through the context of community. So this was taking place 15 years ago. That's in the heyday of MySpace. And as most stories did back in 2006, it wound up on MySpace. And people got curious. They stumbled across this story of our friend finding help. And they started asking some other brave questions like, this sounds a lot like my parents or my best friend or myself. Could hope and help be options for me as well? So on the most foundational level, To Write Love on Our Arms is a response to your response to a story originally titled To Write Love on Our Arms.
Gotcha. Well, you and Aaron met. I was probably out in the crowd or something like that, but you and Aaron met at Aftershock, and off air we were talking about you've been doing Aftershock for like 5 years now.
Yeah, it's 5 or 6. Don't hold me to that, but we've been out to that Sacramento area annually, as long as there hasn't been a pandemic, for a good many years now. And so I love that city. Wait, are you guys based in Sacramento?
Yeah, we're from Sacramento.
Have you been? I'm already going on tangents, and I apologize, but your listeners need to know this. Have you been to Tower Cafe?
Yes.
Tower
Cafe downtown.
Okay.
Yeah. The French toast there is the best in the world as far as I'm concerned. And that's the main reason I will always go back to Aftershock is so I can get my annual French toast.
Oh, well, next time you come out this way, hit us up and we'll take you to a couple of other hot spots.
Oh, don't you dare threaten me with a good time. But yeah, so back to Aftershock.
Yeah. So Aftershock, if anybody's listening to the show regularly, you already know Aftershock's a huge rock festival that goes on here. So did you guys get a lot of feedback and interaction at Aftershock? Did you see that a lot of people were digging what you do and maybe you could help some people?
Yeah, totally. So music has always been at the heart of what we do. The way people originally found out about that story, that initial story, was through some shirts that were made to help offset the medical costs of our friend Renee when she was seeking treatment for addictions. And those shirts were sold to meet a financial need in her life, but those shirts are also worn by people that love music. In fact, the first person to ever wear one of these shirts is a guy named John Foreman, who is the front man of a band called Switchfoot. And uh, the guys in Switchfoot have been our family from day one,
Oh, nice.
and that's really how we kind of got our start. Was those dudes just needing a clean piece of clothing on tour, wearing it as they played their shows, and their fans got curious. They Googled the name, they read the story, and the rest, is very slow creeping history. But yeah, I mean, ever since our earliest days, music has been at the heart of what we do. In fact, if you read that original story, the first words in the story are the name of a band. It mentions Pedro the Lion, are the first three words in the story. And it's just such a part of our identity, because music is a place that a lot of us run to make sense of our lives. And music, reminds us that there's things in life worth singing about, there's things in life worth screaming about, there's things in life worth dancing about, and there's things in life worth sharing with other people. So we really use music and music festivals as a metaphor that, look, if you can feel a sense of connection with strangers at a festival, then perhaps you can feel that same sense of connection consistently and intentionally whenever you go back home. So when we go to festivals like Aftershock, and Aftershock is one of roughly 50 events that we do each year based around music, we often appear as a vendor, just as a place that people can buy a souvenir, buy
Right.
some new swag. And Aaron, I'm pretty sure you noticed it as you're walking around, and Dave, you too. Like, we kind of stand out in that we don't have to put an F-bomb on a shirt for people to buy it.
Mhm.
We don't have to approach the world through a lens of nihilism for people to be drawn to it. And I think, like, when you go to these metal festivals, it can be like least common denominator stuff, like this, the low hanging fruit, the things that are easy to say, like, you know but we're all walking in there with a context. Like, people are complex things. I just heard a parable today about a boy and an ox sitting down, and they went on this long journey. And at the end of the day, this boy shares a piece of wisdom with the ox, and he says to his friend the ox, "Hey, I met my anger today, and I think I found out its true name." And the ox says, "What is it?" And the boy said, "Grief." For so many of us, we're walking around with these intense emotions that just haven't been explored, that they haven't been given the space to fully introduce themselves. So I think a lot of, like, the anger and machismo and F the world kind of mentality that you see at some of these festivals is really just thinly veiled concern, thinly
Sure.
veiled sadness, thinly veiled grief. And what we provide at these events is not a source of positivity, but a source of authenticity, of a chance just to take a beat and to acknowledge the parts of life that are certainly worth celebrating, and the parts of life that can hurt. And you don't have to explain either of those away, but you can be fully present to any of it. um, wow, I covered a lot of ground with a brief question of just,
It's
kind
it's all
of
good.
what,
I
but
was thinking, excuse me. I was thinking that Aftershock, on the surface, it looks like a large group of people, like you say, just kind of screw the world and it's all about me. But when you start to talk to all these people, which I'm sure you've talked to quite a few, um, you find out everybody's pretty cool, and pretty much everybody's pretty accepting of everybody else, and there's a camaraderie, I guess.
yeah,
We're all in it together. I feel very at home at Aftershock. It's my thing. I love to do. So,
for
did
sure.
you now? You mentioned earlier that you're not just a suicide thing, but you're also like a mental health thing, like self harm and that sort of thing. Tell me a little more about that. Uh, what you do as far as, you're not just focused on the suicide part of it, but
Totally.
also tell me what I'm focusing on Aftershock now. Tell me what you, if you can, what you seem to encounter most of at Aftershock. What was the thing that you heard the most over and over again?
Right on. Yeah. So, like I said in the mission statement at the onset, the four kind of pillars of our mission statement, which are admittedly a bit antiquated now, are depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. But over the years, we've expanded that as we've learned more, about the people that we are serving and just how people are talking about pressure points, about stressors, about pain. So we address people that wrestle with anxiety disorders, with post-traumatic stress, with eating disorders and disordered eating. Quite frankly, anything that you're walking through that feels too much for you to handle, we're there to connect some dots. And so often, when we talk about mental health challenges, and maybe we can key in on suicide in this, if you're talking to a friend that has had a suicidal crisis and unfortunately has been able to wake up the next day, often we ask them, hey, why didn't you ask for help? And normally we hear one of two different types of answers. One, I didn't know who to ask. And that's actually the easy one. Like, the resources are there. We're there to shine a light on where you can find some of that help. But the second one is a bit more insidious, a bit more subtle. And that question is, I didn't even know if it was okay for me to ask for help. I
Wow.
didn't know if it was safe for me to ask for help. I didn't know that if I asked for help, who would stick around. And I think that that's a good mirror for a lot of us, especially in a faith-based context of, if someone were to open up about something truly painful, how would that change the dynamic? And I think, at our best, we should be aiming at, it wouldn't change the dynamic at all. We wouldn't approach this with judgment. We wouldn't approach this with any sense of prejudice. And we certainly would not address a complex issue with a bumper sticker solution. People are complex. You deserve more than a quick pithy phrase to fix you.
Right.
You're not something that needs to be fixed. You're something that deserves to be loved, to be known, to be valued and heard, and you're at times wrestled with. Like, you deserve the time it takes to quote one of my favorite poets, a guy named Shane Koizan. You deserve the time it takes to take the time to get to know you.
Wow.
And that's what I think a lot of people are looking for, whether they encounter us online or they encounter us at a festival. I think a lot of people are looking for proof that they're not monsters. They're looking for
Right.
proof that they are lovable. So that there's been times I've been at a booth and I'll have people, kind of dare me to pull away. They'll tell me some brutal things. They'll tell me some deep and heavy stories. And at the end of it, it often ends with a question of, hey, can I give you a hug? Like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, can you chat for a second about some resources? Can you come back and visit me tomorrow just to check in and see how the day is going? So at Aftershock, we're hearing all these stories. We're hearing people just this past year, people that are coming to the festival in the wake of a loved one who died by suicide last year, last month, last year. One woman that came by literally 6 days after the death of her daughter.
Wow.
And like, there's people walking around with these gaping holes in their heart. And our hope in showing up here is just to say, like, that's not your wound to carry alone. In the same way, like, we know that suicide doesn't happen in a bubble. There's people that have been living with untreated or undiagnosed mood disorders, depression, anxiety, people that have been wrestling with addiction. And what a place to do that than at a festival where you don't have to look too hard for advice to
Right.
kick you back to
It's
ground
everywhere.
zero.
It's everywhere.
So yeah, like, a lot of it, like I mentioned, is not so much trying to slap rainbow and unicorn and butterfly band-aids on people, but rather just say, like, it's okay if life hurts right now. You don't have to perform for me, for us. But if you can rock out to your favorite band, and then you need to take 30 minutes because that reminded you of a loved one that you lost. Like, take that time here where you're safe here.
Sure. Now, first of all, when I'm going to back up a little, you said you come across the two types of people that, you know, I would say that, at least in my case, I didn't attempt, but I was in some dark places. And in my case, if somebody had said to me, why didn't you come ask for help? I would have said I was screaming for it. You just
Hmm.
didn't see the signs.
Hmm.
Do you ever encounter that?
Yeah, and I think, again, with 7 billion people on the planet, no two stories are going to be exactly alike.
Right.
But we, if we take the time to actually hear, to actually listen, then we will hear some themes. And I think that's true. Like, you have people, and I'm going to talk to, specifically men of faith right now. You have this added stigma that you're supposed to be the faith leader of your home, of your community, and don't you stumble lest someone else stumble. And
Mhm.
that is totally, I believe, to be antithetical to what a true life of faith looks like, regardless of faith, whether that's
Mhm.
Christian, or otherwise. Like, there, once faith should be a balm. Faith should be a safe place. And again, I'm talking about any and all faiths, and no faiths. Like, your lens that you see the world should be a source of comfort, not a source of, like I mentioned earlier, a pressure to perform. I don't, and this kind of ties back to music. Like, if you get the chance to meet your favorite musician, your hope is that you meet a real version of them, right? Like, you
Right.
don't want to meet the person that is manufactured on the stage, that is photoshopped, for all their album art. Like, you're hoping to meet a real human. And I think, like, you have people that believe that they have to be a certain level of messed up before they ask for help. And then you have people that think that they are too messed up to accept that help. And both of those are lies.
Right.
Not like, neither of those things can be true. But Dave, I appreciate your sharing that, like, in your dark moments, there were times that you thought that you were adequately asking for help, maybe not in um, a way that people were ready to hear or equipped to hear, or uh, confident enough to
Right.
hear.
Right.
But how often do we turn our head to the side because we don't want to get involved in something that's messy? And the last thing we ever want to do is blame a victim, whether that's someone that is lost to suicide or a loved one that has lost someone to suicide. This is not a matter of, if only I did X, if only I changed this. Like, um, and please hear me, this is not me saying that people that want to die by suicide will die by suicide. That is a myth, that there are adequate ways to intervene in every circumstance. But I think, so often we don't insert a voice of help because we feel like we lack the letters behind our name to offer help, that we lack the credentials. But the truth is, you don't need a master's degree to be a friend. You don't need a doctorate to ask a question. How are you doing? And then follow it up with, yeah, but really, like, there's no class on how to ask better questions. That's just something that you learn to do through community, through authenticity, through leaning into friends, and honestly through practice. Not every conversation you have has to be the heaviest conversation that you have,
Right.
but we can work our way up to levels of trust.
Well, it's like I say, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Aaron. I'll let
No,
you get
yeah.
to your thing. But it's like I say, if somebody, and I had a hard time with this for a long time, I still do. But if somebody is calling you or texting you, they are asking for your attention. And especially in this day and age we're so quick to just get back to that, or yeah, I don't want to even deal with that text right now. So I had to, I don't know, condition myself, I guess, so that when somebody called me or texted me, I stopped and took that time. Or I could at least send a text that I'm in the middle of something right now, but I will call you back, that sort of thing. And so I think that in this day and age, I mean, where life goes by at 1,000,000 miles an hour, we don't even, as humans, we don't even think that we're doing anything wrong by going, oh, yeah, another day. But it happens, and sometimes when somebody's texting or calling, they're just looking for somebody to talk to. They just don't want to feel alone. So, and I'm assuming that, if you don't have anybody else to talk to, Chad here will help you, right?
For sure. So Dave and Aaron, we did meet at a music festival, but some time passed before this conversation. And
Right.
what'd you do? You sent an email, and what happened? A human responded, not a robot. And so if you feel, if at any point that you run out of places to share your story, to just reach out, to ask a question, you're welcome to send us an email. That's just to info, that's info at twloha.com. That being said, again, for the sake of transparency, we're not a 24-hour helpline, but we have friends that do run these hotlines. So the key link to come away with from this conversation is twloha.com/find help. And that is going to be an encyclopedia of options for you. We have resources that are organized by topic, by key identifiers in your life. We also have a tool there that can help you find affordable mental health care options by zip code. This is all literally at
wow,
your
you guys are
fingertips.
organized.
So yeah, we found that it's important to come equipped and to bring receipts, that if we're talking about issues of life, death, or coin flips, we want to leave nothing to chance. That if the question is, I don't know who to ask, we want to show you those places. If the question is, I don't know if it's okay to ask, then spend some time on our site. You're going to find blogs, you're going to find podcasts, you're going to find proof that you can talk about mental health and not explode. You can talk about mental health and people won't run away. You can talk about mental health and realize that perhaps your same struggles are what is something that relates you to other people instead of create distance between you and other people.
Yeah. Aaron, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say there was a song a while back called Truth Be Told by a Christian artist, Matthew West. And first time I heard that song, I listened to it 10 times straight through, because I realized that not everybody who goes to church has got it all together. And one thing I try to do is when I say how it's going, I try to look them in the eye and wait for a response, not just pass by, but look them in the eye. How's it really going?
Yeah.
Because I want to know how you're doing at this time, because you never know when you can really help somebody.
That's the awkward part of the whole church experience for me when I go and they have a greet your neighbor moment.
Yeah.
And I shake hands with a lot of people that I don't know. They say hello and I come away still not knowing who they are. And that's what you're saying is, everybody just shakes hands and moves on, which kind of brings me to my next question, which is, have you noticed any kind of spike? You've been in this for about 15 years, you said?
Yeah. So we can round up to 15, but 13 is the most honest answer.
I like 15, but in quotations, 13. So have you noticed any kind of spike since, or increase since everybody's got an iPhone, number one? And did you see any kind of increase through the pandemic where people were getting locked down and losing friends to Corona and, all kinds of craziness going on?
Excellent question. So first, as far as it relates to how we relate to the world, a lot of that is mediated through a screen. Our relationship, while it started in person, is solely capable because we live in the 21st century and we have internet and webcams and all that jazz. But so I say that to say that to write Love on Our Arms, we've really been able to see the best and the worst that the internet can provide. Yes, there is, the bullying that we face growing up is different than what folks are facing today. And that's not just for kids either. This is like adults. Peer abuse is real. Peer abuse does not care about your age. This is something that happens. A lot of times we call it gossip, but we don't really take the time to acknowledge that that is something that can be a hugely detrimental to the mental health of our friends and family. But yes, so we have seen certainly some trends where pain and enemies can be closer than ever because of technology. But on the flip side of that, hope and help are also closer than ever. So our friends in Crisis Text Line, they run a 24-hour network that is a crisis intervention service through text. This is possible because of technology that rests in our pocket, in our hands. So at any time, day or night, any age, anyone can text Aloha or text any word to the number 741-741. And that will get you immediately connected to a trained responder to help you navigate whatever it is you're walking through. That doesn't have to be suicidal crisis. This could be questions about sobriety. This could be struggling just with loneliness. This could be, and they've done some incredible research about what the pandemic did according to the conversations that were coming in through their network. And that really leads into the next piece of your question of what did we see in these past 18 to 24 months when we were geographically isolated from one another, when we were socially distanced, and what did that mean? What did that cause? And I'm here to say, like, even as someone that had the benefit of having a secure job, this was a hard year and a half, 2 years, as someone that a lot of my work brings me in, to music festivals, to places that did not exist for almost 2 years. And I'm seeing my friends who are artists and industry members getting laid off, getting furloughed, wondering if they're going to have a job at the end of this, wondering if music will ever come back. Like I was struggling with kind of survivor's guilt. Like, what made me so freaking lucky that I got to keep my job and my friends did not? Like, these are heavy things. We saw that the CDC did some research and they found in a survey that 1 in 4 young adults age 18 to 26 had thought about suicide because of circumstances related directly to the pandemic.
Wow.
The world around us has real effects on us. You don't have to skate through this stoically and pretending like you're Teflon and it's going to rub or just, kind of slough right off you. It's not. Life is real and life can be real hard. So 1 in 4 young adults thought that maybe there was no such thing as a better day on the horizon. So, that's probably one of the biggest questions that I'm asked at any event that I go to is, are things getting worse? And, I don't know if things are indeed getting worse or if we're just becoming more comfortable talking about it. And I think that, really kind of comes to the crux of this topic of suicide prevention, that suicide prevention has to happen outside of crisis moments. This moment right now, Dave, Aaron, that we're sharing, this is suicide prevention. Even though none of the three of us are currently at risk of losing our lives, what we're doing and talking about openly, talking about mental health and suicide is suicide prevention. So people are getting more comfortable talking about this, but just talking about it isn't enough. Finding ways to talk about it appropriately, talking about it when it's not a life or death situation is important. Saving space in schools, at your workplace, at your community of faith, talking about this outside of the context of a memorial vigil is how we're going to keep more of our friends and family and ourselves alive. by proving that we can talk about it, that this doesn't have to be hush hush. So yeah, I think in certain ways we have seen some spikes in upward trends, but a piece of me is wondering if that's just because we're on the verge of a breakthrough where now people find that we can talk about it. Now the key is finding the correct tone and vocabulary to talk about it consistently and appropriately.
Right.
Well, to wrap this up, the lights don't stay on by themselves, and the travel expenses and everything else that the expenses occur. How can they help to write Love in Their Arms?
I'm honored that you would ask that. So there's a number of ways, and we've been really fortunate that over the years, most of our fundraising has happened through individual donors, not through massive mega grants. This happens through grassroots level, and we love that. It feels punk rock, and it feels honest, and it feels relatable. So there's a number of ways.
It's pure, is what it is, Chad.
It's pure. It's, you know, it's about as close to 1-to-1 as you can get, and we love that. We love that. So you can check us out at twaloha.com/donate for ways that you can support us financially. That can look like a one-time gift. That can look like being a recurring donor. We love our recurring donor program. We call you Twaloha Blue. These are folks that give every single month, and those are funds that are specifically earmarked for in-person outreach opportunities. Very brand new to us, we're accepting crypto. So if you're looking at some Bitcoin that you can't wait to get off your hands and want to put to good use, feel free to send it this way. But beyond that,
I may do that with my crypto, because I'm not into that whole crypto. I tried it out. I tried out the crypto. I threw $20 at Coinbase or whatever it's called, and I went, I'm just gonna see what it does. And I walked away from it. I was like, it's so volatile. I'm like, I'm out of it.
I could not, like, so, I mean, I say that you can donate it. I don't even know how that works.
Well, let me know, Chad. I'll throw my $20 over to you.
Right on, man.
It'll do more good with you than it will with them.
Well, I tell you what, one other thing you can do, Dave, with that 20 is visit our store. So store.twaloha.com. We, like I said, you know, music and merch have been at the heart of what we do from day one. And the proceeds go to directly fund our programs, and the shirts don't suck. You know, we've been able to sell.
The shirts don't suck.
No, the shirts are quite nice. My son bought a jacket from you at the Aftershock.
Right on. So I hope he loves it. I hope he's putting it to good use.
He wears it all the time.
Hey, Aaron, when we get our shirts made, can you get that on there? Shirts that don't suck.
It's a great business plan, as it turns out. Yeah,
right.
Like, just keep doing things that don't suck, and perhaps you get to stay around for a little while. But you know, one thing that we love about the merchandising piece of it is it's not the most effective fundraising tool, but this isn't about just money. Like, I can't just give you $100 and say, Dave, fix suicide with this $100. And there's not going to be one correct answer in how you do that. But we know that as a society, we've not prioritized conversations about mental health very well. But we talk about shirts all the time. Hey, man, I see your Tool shirt. Did you get that at a show? Like, tell me about your memories about that. Or, hey, man, I see that Aftershock show. Were you there? I was there too. Like, this becomes a way to create proximity. So if something we put on our shirt strikes up a conversation, hey, like, what's that phrase mean? To write love on our arms. Like, that sounds weird. Is that a band? Like, what's that mean? If a piece of cotton can lead the way into life-saving conversation, then so be it. So you can visit us at twaloha.com/donate. You can visit us store.twaloha.com. But beyond that, if we know we're in the holiday season, funds can be getting pretty tight. Just stay in touch with us. Follow us on social media. Sign up for our newsletter. We'd love to connect with you in a way that doesn't feel like a high pressure sales situation. We're in this because of and for you. So in whatever way that we can stay in touch, we relish that opportunity.
Awesome. And when you say Twaloha, I knew I was gonna
nailed it. That was great.
Twaloha. It takes a couple times, and then it's easy. It's TWLOHA, because you might be kind of wondering when you go to type it in what it is. It's TWLOHA. And
Thank you.
you got some phone numbers. I know you had a text number earlier. Do you have any other phone numbers that you can provide to people?
Yeah, totally. So 1-800-273-TALK, that is the suicide crisis hotline. They do incredible work. We have numbers for all sorts of identifiers, whether that's veteran status or LGBTQ status. If you're looking for resources specifically for people of color, we have resources for that. You deserve to connect with people that you can relate with, people that you don't have to defend your existence to or explain your existence to, people that just understand what life looks like for you. And we have those resources in abundance on our website. But again, I would love to point people towards that Find Help tool on our website. Just TWLOHA.com/find help. And you can find counselors, you can find support groups, you can find even intensive inpatient programs by zip code. And those all have services that operate at affordable and reduced cost rates.
We're back. Rock Salt with Chad from To Write Love on Her Arms. We had a little technical difficulty, and the whole Zoom meeting and everything just dropped. So it froze up and dropped. So we got Chad back on the phone to finish this up. And Chad, you were given some phone numbers of places people could go to talk to people or seek out resources and all of that.
Absolutely, yeah. So depending on how y'all decide to splice this together, I would definitely say that the key web page to head to, if you're looking for resources, if you're looking for proof that you're not alone, would be our website, TWLOHA.com/find help. And like I mentioned earlier, you're going to find a number of options to find 24-hour helplines. You're going to find options for help by topic, by a specific mental health challenge, and by key identifiers. But again, if you scroll down just a little bit further to that blue bar in the middle, you're going to see an option to find counselors, to find peer support groups, to find even intensive inpatient treatment programs by zip code. And these are all resources that operate at affordable rates, at reduced costs. And even then, if you found something that you believe will be beneficial to you and money is the only thing standing in the way, we have scholarship dollars available. Again, on that same website, TWLOHA.com/find help. We want to make sure that you find the sense and points of connection that you deserve.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for coming on the show today. I hope this leads to hundreds or thousands of people getting help and are leading to those, who want to help others, by just asking a question, how are you doing?
Yeah. And that's another question, a quick question I had for you is, if somebody can't afford to donate and they want to, can they donate their time?
We definitely have ways that we can use your time and your energies, and obviously that looks a little bit different as the world is waking up from COVID. But the best way to keep abreast of those opportunities is again that webpage, and we have a drop-down tab that says "Get Involved." It should be like the second thing that you see on our website on the top line, and those are some great ways that you can get involved, whether that's finding ways to bring us to your campus, to bring us to your faith community, to bring us to your company. Something honestly as simple as just sharing our blog, sharing our social media posts. You never know when a retweet can be, again, that entryway into authentic conversation. So, money helps, but it's not the end all be all. You being a caring person and a sharing person has just as much value.
Awesome. All right, Chad, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's great to connect with you across time zones and across states. Where I'm super stoked that what's this? We've spanned 2 entire months now, and that's something pretty cool to me.
Yeah. All right. So to Write Love on Her Arms, thank you, Chad. And we're going to get back to some music here, Aaron.
Yep.
With the Rock Salt Musecast Experience.